We might not have the internet in 1,000 years. Maybe we're all just like cyber connected, and I can just be like, give you a compliment by going bing, like whatever. And it's a completely, very creepy. But in this incredibly creepy future Bing world, you can still dream 100 people. You can still, sales is still sales. You know, rapport is still rapport. I mean, I'm hoping, unless we're all robots, and then that might not be the case. But you see what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Do you feel that people don't explore that enough, and they just try to rest on the tactics?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's also why this has been so timeless and continues to be so timeless, is because it's talking about the strategy, and whether the tactics or the vehicles that you're using in marketing change. The things that my father talks about, like with advertisements, how much more it converts if you have a person next to a product, right? So I think of that when I'm doing my Instagram stories. I always make sure I have someone dancing next to an image, because I know research shows, whether it was 20 years ago or not, in newspaper advertisements with them showing like a book with a hand in it converts better than a book by itself, or someone holding a product. I do the same thing in Instagram, because it's understanding the concepts.
Yes. And I think that maybe you'll agree that when you deep dive into that and you don't play, because to me, trying to learn tactics, or at least relying on tactics, that's your safe zone. You know, oh, if I just learn this tactic and I don't expand my brain anywhere past that, I don't push the limits, I don't push the envelope and watch it bend, that is where you get stuck, because you build this little box, and if the tactic doesn't work or does work or whatever, you stay in that little box and you don't push the box, bend the box, break the box, and get out of the box. Would you agree?
Absolutely. When I think of like, so we define marketing as creating top of mind awareness. Like that is the whole purpose of marketing, is to create top of mind awareness so that as soon as they say, oh, I need a product or service like yours, you are the first person that they think of, right? That's the true ability to marketing. Now, when you think of a business trying to do social media, they're like, I just need to do a Facebook post. I just need to do a Facebook post. Remember that the number one thing of any marketing you do is to create that top of mind awareness. So when you feel like, oh, I've only done this many posts, I don't want to do more. No, we're creating top of mind awareness. What do I have to do to make that happen, right? Just like that very basic thing. We get lost in the clutter of all the tactics without forgetting what is the point of what we're doing here.
I agree. I have a much more, you put it more eloquently than I did. I pretty much just say marketing is to make the sales guy's job easier. You know, like the better your marketing is, the less work you have to do when it comes to sales.
Well, Steve Jobs says it too. Marketing's job is to make sales obsolete. And the number one revenue generating company in the world right now is Apple.
Of course.
And how do you go when you go to an Apple store? What do? Do they pitch you? Do they sell you? They don't have to do.
You gotta wait in line.
Exactly.
You gotta wait in line, and then somebody's like, you gotta go see the genius or whatever, you know. And it's very different environment. Yeah, and that's the thing is, you know, Steve Jobs. He was such a brilliant guy. And I remember there was a scene in one of the movies, because you had a movie with David Fassenbender, and then you had another movie with Ashton Kutcher. And I believe it was the Ashton Kutcher one. And he was arguing with his engineers. And they were saying, people who buy computers, they like to switch out their CD-ROMs, and they like to be able to replace their RAM. And And basically what Steve Jobs said was, no, computer nerds like to do that. People want whatever you tell them to want. And he created that, because that's the difference between, and maybe you'll agree, that's the difference between something like Apple and Microsoft. Apple does not sell computers. Apple sells creative empowerment. Think different. Microsoft sells computers. You buy a computer from Microsoft, you're buying a computer. You buy a computer from Apple, you buy into self-expression. You buy into spreading your art. You buy into creativity without the limit of, ease of creativity. You have an identity, and you have, and that's the difference. And that's why Steve Jobs did such a great job. But on the flip side, the man created literally the highest value tech company ever. And not only that, is responsible for changing the way that we live our lives. I mean, think about it. I'm sitting here interviewing you. I got a freaking iPhone and an iPad in front of me, and I mean, you want to talk to your family, you message on Facebook or, I mean, literally how we live our lives completely really does. Social media, there would be no social media without the freaking iPhone.
Yeah.
It all comes back to that. So he made such an impact. But do you remember the story about what he talked about on his deathbed? He said, I don't remember the exact words, but he basically said it was all not worth it because he spent so much time making that thing great that he didn't spend enough time with his family and his life, and he wasn't present enough. And on his deathbed, he regretted every single second of it. And I remember hearing that, and every single day when I wake up, I try to think of that. And I just close my eyes and I say, I'm Steve Jobs, I'm in my bed, I'm about to die, and I just realized that none of this shit matters. How am I going to live my life so that doesn't happen?
That's really interesting that you bring that up.
Watch the full episode by checking the link in description. And if you want daily success mentoring from a self-made millionaire, visit howtothink.com and become a member.